a West Coast or that side effect, and I think it does have an effect, especially on the pelagics and stuff like that. Cabo and all that, I can't answer that. That's something I don't really know. But getting back to the Lisa B, we catch a lot of wahoo. Here's a cool thing about the boat, right? So this is the cool story. So the guy who runs our charter boat, Captain Mark Danley, I was his mate for almost 5 years when I was young. And fantastic. Back in the day, it was meat on the dock and we were mounting fish and doing the whole thing. And well, long story short, it's 30 years later and he's the captain of our boat and runs it. But before I get a chance to go, I just want to tell you a side of fishing, right? Because I feel goodness in the room, and it's a great room. And I really love to give back. I love people who give back. And so one of the things that we do Monday and Tuesday every week on our boat is we give free trips to families with special needs, right? So if somebody that you know, fantastic. So for me, in fishing, just to clarify, I'm hardcore and I love fishing and all that, but at the end of the day, I've caught a lot of stuff. I am truly blessed just to even be here hanging out with you guys, like talking fishing. It's like crazy that we can do this, and so, but truthfully, for me, my vessel here has been sword fishing, right? To be able to spread the word. And I'm a believer, man. I'm a hardcore believer. I'm a faith guy, and for me, mission fishing is something we started years ago. It's a long story. Long story short, we have a 501, and we take families 2 days every week, and vets. So if you have a veteran, if you have a child, full-grown person in your family, friend that you know would benefit from spending some time on the boat with me, my captain, my crew. Every Monday and Tuesday we do that. Now, once every month we do a volunteer thing where we do 10 to 12 boats. We'll get volunteer captains and then we'll put a family on each one. And I've learned so much. And my goal really now, I love fishing, but I love to be able to see people catch things and smile and all the things that all of us have been blessed to be able to see. That's my goal in life too. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. I'll give you my cell phone. You can go on Mission Fishing, MISSIONFISHIN.org. We've been doing it for 15 years. And I'll tell you what we do is unbelievable, just to see the different levels of people's issues and things. So I study fishing. If I put somebody on your boat today, sometimes with special needs, you can't go fishing. You can't hurt a fish. They can't. So we have to vet everybody that comes on the boat. There's a whole process to that. Autism and different levels of it. But I really love that. If you guys have a giving heart for giving of your time, okay, the money part of it, people give us money. One of my biggest things ever since we started is if we take in $400,000, we're going to spend $300,000 or $400,000, right? Everything comes in, goes out, nobody gets paid, nobody makes a dime, it's all volunteer. Now, it's been so fun to do it. And one of our dreams right now is to have this almost a place where what I'm learning, because the guy who works with me in it has a son that's a quadriplegic. And his name is Josh, and he wasn't supposed to live. And he's outlived it. He's graduating right now from high school. But what happens, and I didn't understand all of this stuff. So when you're 18 or your parents have to adopt you back. And it cost about $3,750 to adopt your own son back if you're going to adopt them back as at that level. And there's a lot to it. I'm not explaining to you, but there's a lot of logistics and things. But when people with special needs are 18 years old, a lot of them go to places that aren't good. So we're working on having like a vocational program in a place, and so down here, and we've been looking at properties. And so giving back is a big thing. Me, as far as fishing, fish is one, it's been a vessel for me. It's been fantastic. But giving back and giving from your heart and giving of your time and putting people on your boat and doing all that, that's what this is about. You know, and I would be doing him a disservice if I didn't say that while I'm sitting here looking at you. Make sense? I truly appreciate you having me. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Sir. Yes, sir.
You guys hear me in the back? Good? Yes? Okay, good. How nice is this, right? For me, fantastic. I mean, you guys live here, but look, this spot, looking out, hanging out by the bridge. My brother lived on the north side for years, and I actually I fished out of the marina over here one time, but I never went to the beach, so we went down there. Unfortunately, there was an Irish pub there called Aaron's, and we stopped in there, so that was pretty good. If you've never been there, I said, what have you guys been here, 10, 20, 30 years? They said, no, 2 weeks. It was an old hamburger joint, I guess, but anyway, long story short, we stopped in there. Pretty cool spot. I am happy to be here. I do a couple seminars a year, not very many. I will tell you, if you don't know us, when I say us, we have a store in Lighthouse Point, Florida. We've had for 25 years. I was a mate for a long time, captain, and artist. I do a lot of paintings. I went to school for art. I played in the minor leagues for a couple years, was not very good, could throw 95, but I couldn't tell you where it was going. But it was a cool experience, I can tell you that. Wasn't good enough then. But fishing was always in my family. My brother worked on a head boat when we were young, when I was young, and always looked up to him. So I kind of grew up around fishing, in a fishing family, was part of it. My mom was an artist, very creative, did macrame, needlepoint, all sorts of stuff like that. So I was always kind of into crafts because my mom was into it. I used to do wood burnings and all sorts of cool stuff when I was a kid. And I got to tell you, you know, now that I turned 34, it's extremely exciting, to be honest with you. I live an exciting life, and if it, you know, in the prayer, what was fantastic was making it home tonight, because we're never guaranteed tomorrow, right?
Amen.
Never guaranteed tomorrow, but as of right now, what a fantastic life it's been. Trials and tribulations are what they are, but with having faith, man, we're getting through it, right? So, really for me, I don't write anything. It's not a bullet point thing. I don't kind of go through that. For me, I do a lot of different things. With the tackle store that we've had for so long, we have a really fantastic store. I got a great team behind me. We rig a lot of things that we invent or create, and you know, in sword fishing and wahoo fishing and all these different fisheries. And we're really, really blessed to do that. We've been doing it for a long time. So there's the fishing side, there's the learning side, which we're going to talk about tonight. You know, we have a platform called the Crew Platform where there's several guys here that are on that platform. If you're into learning, for me, every single day is a learning thing for me. I don't care how old I get, I just enjoy learning new things, right? So, on top of that, I'm married to my high school sweetheart for 33 and a half long, grueling years. Fantastic, 2 girls. One works with me, my youngest one works with me, and my oldest one, she is into dermatology. She's an RN. She's fantastic. And so that's a little bit about me and what I do, but we do a lot of stuff. You know, when I'm talking in a group of people, I don't really know the level of fishing or boating or angling or captaining so for me it's hard to come up here and let's talk about sword fishing, because you're the swordfish guy, right? Well, I thought I was the art guy, but maybe you're the wahoo guy. When you own a tackle store in South Florida around Hillsborough Inlet, where we are, you have to do all of that. And I was having a discussion with somebody in the back, Chris Langle, and Seacoast AC, by the way, right? Correct. So I fished with his dad and his family for quite a while. But when you are where we are located down south in that vicinity, The mates on those boats, which I was one of them, my brother was one of them. I grew up in a fishing family around guys who were great fishermen, so I was always looking up to the fishing guys. If you go to Costa Rica, what do they do there? They drive around most of the time and they catch a sailfish, right? It's a sailfish, an occasional blue marlin, a mahi-mahi swims up. You put out 4 to 6 trolling lures, and that's what you do. You go to Hawaii, you put out 4 lures and a high line, you're looking for the grander. Get skunked a lot. That's the nature of that. When you fish in South Florida, you're kite fishing, then we're going to go wreck fishing, we're going to deep drop, then we're going to go for vermilion snappers, then we're going to go sword fishing, by the way, because it's an all-day trip, and by the way, the blackfin are biting, so we're going to do that and drop jigs. The best fishermen in the world come from here, down south. I have traveled to so many countries and been on so many boats and studied captains and mates and styles and techniques and hook sets and lures. It's the nature of what I do, right? So this is the area. So as we all sit here, and I don't really understand the level of fishing of anybody in here other than Phil. You're a great fisherman, Phil, by the way.
Thank you.
So, swordfish. Who's caught a swordfish in this room? Okay, hold on. Hold them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're talking about 7, 8. You're talking about 8 people in the whole room. Who's caught a wahoo in this room? Right. Who's caught a mahi in this room? Right. Who's caught a black grouper in this room? Wow, fantastic. That helps me. So that at least gives me a direction, right? So to have a direction of what we're talking about, I can talk about swordfish all night and bore most of the people in here. Because the truth is, I'm the swordfish guy. I am the swordfish guy. I've caught a lot of swordfish. Caught up records. We have 8 satellite tags swimming around the ocean from the Cayman Trench right now to Nova Scotia that we track. But the truth is, after all of the years of sword fishing, if I told you a true thing, here's a true statement. If I took 100 charters sword fishing, 15 liked it. 15. The rest of them said, I would never do that again, ever. And that's a true statement, because it could be the worst fishing of all time. Watching a rod tip or a boot, that is the worst to most people. People want to bend the rod. They don't have the patience to stare at a rod tip, right? So for me, talking about other things now, I was talking to him about deploying a buoy rod and a tip rod and sword fishing and technical stuff. I feel like when I come in here, because we have the shop, I was a mate for a long time, we cover a lot of things, I can kind of answer some questions if you have them specific to fishing, right? 10 days ago, we were in Costa Rica, we fished for 7 days. I got actually 2 of my band members back there. We do music, by the way. We got 12 songs on Spotify, iTunes, and all that stuff. Yeah, that's the band, by the way, from the cheap seats in the back over there. Before we get into that, I got to tell you a quick story about the music. I'll go all over the place. It may be a long night, you guys, so pack a lunch. So, I owned a club. So after baseball, couldn't hit the backside of a barn. I could throw 95, but when I got let go, my parents had this furniture store, and on the side of it was this packaged liquor store and bar. When my aunt got sick, my dad had just passed away, and so my mom says, you need to go watch the bar. I was 21. What do you mean watch the bar, Mom? Just go in there and kind of take a look at what's going on. Well, it was the time. Long story short, all my friends started coming. We bought the liquor license. We had a bar. When I was 21 years old, I owned this nightclub that became something in 4 or 5 years. Anyway, music was kind of in me. My brother always listened to music. My brother's 15 years older than I was, so we were listening to George Benson or whatever it might have been, but we kind of always verse in music, right? So I always loved Earth, Wind, and Fire and all sorts of classic music. And listen to this. So years go by, and I'm in the store one day, and the guys, I'm listening from my office. I got young bucks in the shop. These are fishing guys. These are hardcore bay rigging guys, fishing guys, and I'm listening. The guy's like rapping. I'm like, what is he? What? Finally, I walked out. I said, what are you rapping about, man? He said, I'm going to be the next big fishing rapper. I said, no kidding, man. Hit me with some lines, see what you got, man. Right? He doesn't know me from Adam and Music, so I'm listening. He'd do 2 sentences about fishing. And then I'd give him the next 2, right? Then he'd start another song, and I'd give him the next 2. He said, man, you should write a rap song about that giant sword you guys caught in that tournament. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not writing rap songs at 50 years old. Are you freaking nuts? Well, at the time, my wife's in Tennessee with my girls, and I'm at home, and I sit down to dinner by myself that night, and I'm like, I'm going to write a rap song about sword fishing. And we caught a 585-pound swordfish with bouncer in a tournament called the nickel, right? So years ago we taught a nickel is a 500-pound swordfish. Anyway, I write the rap song, and the next morning I tell him the rap. I give him the rap song. He's like, you need to record that. I'm like, I wouldn't do that. Maybe I should do that. Anyway, long story short, I recorded this rap song for fun, right? Went into the studio. I'll never forget it, the feeling I had. I walked into the studio. It's because this guy's told me, this is the rap guy. If you're a rap guy, you go to this guy. Well, I'm a 50-year-old gray-haired guy. I knock on the guy's door, Eddie from True Noise Studio, and he's like eyeballing me up and down, like, what are we doing here? I said, well, and I looked at gold records on the wall. It was Busta Rhymes and all these different artists. And I don't really get nervous talking in front of people, but I was kind of nervous thinking, man, what am I doing, right? Anyway, I go into the studio, and he goes, you ready? He gives me the headphones and the microphone. I go into the sound booth, and I laid down the track for this song that I wrote that night. We put it out on iTunes, right? Apple iTunes. At the time, remember Apple iTunes was a 99-cent download. You had to download a song if you wanted to buy it. It was 99 cents. Well, they got 10 cents and I got 89 cents. The first year that I wrote that song, Bust a Nickel, I made $62,000 off the song. Think about that for a second. I'm thinking, wait a minute. It took me about 20 minutes in lyric, because I was always kind of lyrically inclined that way. Anyway, I said, I got to write some songs, man. I guess I'm going to be the next big rapper. Anyway, long story short, after the second song, as soon as that second song was released, Spotify and all that stuff came out, and they paid you about a half a penny a song or less. So that was pretty much the end of that career. Until the 2 guys in the back approached me. Now we play out as a band, a full band. We play reggae music, all sorts of cool stuff. If you get a chance, go check that out, right? So that's the music side. Back to the fishing. Here's what I'm going to tell you about fishing, right? As an old guy, I still have a good back. My knees are good right now, but I go hardcore. I love to fish, man. I'm really into fishing. I like to get on people's boats, like I said. I like to be able to see what they're doing. Marlin fishing. A month ago, I was in Chub Cay. We won the tournament on a boat called Semper Duro, 78 Ricky Scarborough. Great crew. They were on our platform. They're still on our platform. To learn dredge fishing and all this style of fishing for marlin, right? We win the tournament. Fantastic. 2 weeks ago, I was in Costa Rica. I was fishing on another big boat. Called Brianna Marie, doing the Costa Rica thing. It's a sailfish, it's a tuna, it's a possible marlin. Great time. Not really my gig. I've been to Costa Rica a lot. I'd rather go deep dropping. I'd rather catch something I can eat. I'd rather do something cool that's different. I went on a trip last weekend, and I fished with this guy, Cody Michael. And if any of you guys are on Instagram and saw a picture of what we posted with black groupers and mutton snappers, I learned more. I can honestly say, and I was just telling these guys, I learned more in one day of fishing with the right guy than I learned my whole life about bottom fishing. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about like general things. I'm talking about like being on a rod, watching a commercial guy who makes a living off catching a fish where failure is really not an option, using the right rod, right? So he said, RJ, you ready? You want to do this? And to give you an idea, as an example, he created an aquarium style. So the best fishing guys that I've ever met for bottom fishing, reef guys, bottom, are divers. Divers have a different perspective. They get to see it from a different angle. I'm always up there. If this was the room and that's the surface, I don't spend any time down here. Divers have a different perspective. And when you're a really creative guy and an understanding guy and a guy who takes everything in, a great diver, all the commercial guys where we are talk to divers. They tell them what's going on. That's the extent of it. So this guy's a free diver, shoots giant wahoos and all this stuff. Approached me one day and said, man, hey, why don't you come down and fish with me? Check it out. And I will tell you straight up, we do films on our platform with these people, but to go down and see a guy like black grouper, like as an instance, right? We caught 6 black groupers up to 60 pounds, right? I don't know if you guys catch them bigger here. Most of the time it's not. But to watch the guy on the rod and not get on the rod, he said, do you want to get on the rod? I said, no, you get on the rod. Let me watch you get on the rod, right? So in the way he hooked fish, but he created this, we got to a spot, we'd anchor the boat. So we're not drifting, we're anchored. So this room, let's just say, is the spot. And the spot that we're fishing is that right there. So if I'm fishing to that right there, he says, RJ, okay, grab the 12-pound braid, whatever, and let's get the cycle going. So we start to catch a few yellowtails, some grunts, the spade fish are eating their bait on the way down. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but there's action, right? So he's like, you have to create this action so that all the big boys who are sitting to the side are like, oh, there's some action. So as he's doing this, we're catching blue runners and we're putting them in a well. And let's say 30 minutes into it, he says, okay, let's catch the muttons now because they'll come around. They're there. So he changes that rod, spinning rod, by the way, from a 12 to, let's say, a 20. And so we're fishing jigs, okay? You're familiar with a yellowtail jig's about this big, and then you go to a mutton jig. We're catching mutton on jigs. It's all straight. There's no leaders and 40-pound fluorocarbon, none of that stuff. This is jig fishing. But he says, if you create that, the muttons will eat, right? So we start dropping these jigs with pinfish and cut bait. I'm catching 18-pound muttons on cut bait. And he says, and he'd say, just pay attention to what you're doing, because where we are right now, we're positioned by a wreck, and let's just say the wreck's over here. So if I was standing on this side of the boat, he'd say, just hold your rod this way when you hook the fish, you'd hook the. And I'm thinking, gosh, man, like even from the angle of how I was supposed to hold the rod, we do that for, let's say an hour. We catch 15 muttons up to 20. And all of a sudden, you get bit off. Now, in my mind, you hook a couple fish, they get bit off. You hook a fish, it gets bit off. You're like, okay, the sharks are moving in. He's like, no, the sharks aren't moving in. Those are the groupers now that are okay because the muttons are eating. So he takes a jig, grouper jig, and he takes the blue runners, 4-pound blue runners. I'm thinking, okay. He's like, you want to? I said, no, I don't want to help you. I'm going to watch you. Let me watch it and film it. I'm filming. Are you okay with that? He says, absolutely, man. Just hits the bottom, rod bends over. But when he's hooking this fish, he's holding the line here, right? So he hits the bottom, he drops it in free spool, hits the bottom, pulls the line up, locks it up, and holds the line. And when he feels the bite, he's already winding on the reel before the rod bends over. Now when the rod bends over, he's on full drag. There's no like, oh, he's running drag. He's like, the biggest problem with black groupers is that once they get their head to go back in, you're not stopping them because their tail's about this big, which he called the paintbrush tails, and you can't stop them and you pop them off. It was, to me, okay, I'm not a grouper guy, I don't do that. But to watch a guy catch 6 in a row, right? With that technique, holding the line, having it locked up, the right rod that had enough backbone so it could support pulling the fish. That's what I'm into. That's my game. I love that. In swordfish, that's my game. In wahoo, yes, I got you. It's going to be hard to show me something I haven't seen in wahoo. In bottom fishing and mutton fishing, and that was cool to create this atmosphere of catching, but start with the small ones, go to the medium ones, and then target the big ones. That's outside the box thinking for guys who do that or are good at it. Make sense? Go ahead.
How deep?
125 on a black grouper in the spot. So, this is why questions are huge. I said, because I was filming, so I'm taking notes. So let me get this right. So we upgraded 3 different things. We went from a yellowtail jig to a mutton jig to a jig, giant grouper jig. Yes. Okay, we went from 12 pounds to 40 on the muttons to what? He goes, usually 125, but the water's pretty clear, so I started with 100. Sometimes we'll go down to 80. Guys like that, where I'm giving up. I'm like, oh, they're not biting today. He's like, oh, they're biting today. It just depends on what you put down there. The thought process is completely different. They can get a fish to bite. And I've always said that about swordfish. Let's try to get the fish to bite. What do you have to do when nobody's getting a bite, right? In this game, very, very evident because you're only in 100 feet. So you can do it quickly. In sword fishing, you can't do it quickly. So really to see somebody that was that clued in. But here's the catch. By 12 o'clock, I was done. His mate had gotten sick. He goes, oh, by the way, you're mating today on the boat. 12 o'clock, I was like shot out. Right, pretending I wasn't, but I was. And so to see that from a guy who does it for a living and to learn and to be able to feel comfortable enough to show me and be a part of it, to me, that's next level things. So, whether it's grouper, I did a show this morning on the radio. It's pre-recorded for Friday. And they were asking me, because I was thinking about the moon. I'll say the last thing about this charter. So, and where this is going, guys, so you understand. If catching fish and dissecting and really being the best at what you do is your goal, you have to think outside the box. If your goal is to troll, to catch a mahi and a possible something, that's awesome too. For me, at the shop, we entertain both of those things. And so, that's your choice. So, but for me as a fisherman personally, I love to see the intricate things and I'm going to go the extra mile. These guys are putting up huge effort to do that. And that's next level stuff, right? That makes sense? For the people in the room, here, what's your thought? Give me a question about a fishery. Give me a question about tackle. Give me a question about something that would help you. Because that's really why, those are my strong points. Because I've fished. Last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to tell you. If you're a guy that has a boat, right, and you're relying on YouTube to teach you what you think you know, most of the time that is, you don't even know the extra. I've seen guys catch their first swordfish with me, and the next week they're professionals on YouTube. Doesn't make any sense here. But that's what people do, right? That's what people do. So understand that that's not what I do. Go ahead.
I came back, and I'm not a big sword fishing daytime fan.
Yeah.
But we went nighttime sword fishing.
Yes.
It was a whole nother game. Is that something you do, or?
I try not to anymore. So nighttime is for sleeping for me and for my marriage, right? So which is fantastic, because when I was younger, we spent, the boat I run now, the smaller boat, the 31 Ocean Master, when I'm fishing, the boat I have, I was a mate on that boat. It was called the Bill Collector. And all we did was night fishing. In the modern day recreational boom of sword fishing, I spent 3 to 4 nights offshore every night, 30 miles. Caught a ton of fish. It was fantastic until you had to get up for work the next morning, but you got home at 3. In a married life, it's not a good thing, right? And so we did it for years and years and caught fantastic fish. We had the IGFA, the 50-pound Florida record for a long time. I think we still do it, 5:39 on 50. 6-hour fight, classic battles at night. What's getting ready to happen here, summertime, flat calm condition, moon starts to pop. There's not a breath of wind. You're looking at your buoys because you got reference. It's not like watching a rod tip at 127 degrees. Totally different feel. We're hand cranking. Fantastic. Night fishing blows daytime sword fishing away when it comes to the experience. If you're okay with looking out at the horizon at night with 3 glow balloons. Remember when I said people didn't like it? I was the #1 charter boat for swordfish at night. 15% of the people we took would ever do it again. One thing they couldn't do was deal with the nighttime deal with the glow stuff and the glow, and we used to have the hydroglow in the water. You and I might love that, but 85% of the population doesn't like that. Daytime fishing, if you really wanted to enjoy it, fantastic out here. This is where you catch a giant sword. Last week there was 4 swords over 500 caught right here. This is the big fish swordfish spot. You want to catch a swordfish and enjoy it? Go to Venice. Venice, Louisiana is fantastic. There's a half a knot of current, and you can catch swordfish. They're generally between 80 to 100 pounds. They're kind of cookie cutter. There's no giant fish there. The spawn doesn't really happen here. Most of the big fish happen right here where you are. And so it's hard to fish in, especially in the summer. Now the summer, when you have summer and you have summer moons and you have more tide, current. Average tide of 3.5 knots where we are, at an average of, let's say, 300 feet thick. The Gulf Stream moves on top of a body of water. There's 2 bodies. It's not one body of water, okay? The Gulf Stream moves on top of a body of water that doesn't really move. Some days it's 300 feet thick. Some days it's 500 feet thick. Off of Fort Pierce, it's 500 feet thick. Where I am, the average is 300. Generally, boats fishing here have more line than we do out. So, that being said, right now, All Reds Fishing, there's a guy out of Chris Holsinger at Palm Beach. Fantastic person, good heart, good fisherman. He's fishing, he's caught, his last 8 fish have been over 300. We had a conversation. He says, I found a spot. Daytime. He said, so what are you doing? He said, I found a spot, and obviously the fish are congregating there. Now up here, which is different than we are, there's a lot of rocks and stuff in swordfish where we are. Here it's trenches, and they call it the trenches, the valley, and off of Fort Pierce, they call it the desert, right? There's not a lot here. But what's happening in fishing, and I'll say unfortunately, technology has taken over. And so what's happening is I can mark that bottle of water at 200 feet on the. I mean, it's getting so ridiculous with technology, right? Guys are going out and being able to mark spots. Now out here, people don't really, they're getting it now, but the machines are getting it. It's something that I was saying years ago. If we're in this room, right, think about this for a second. That's an 8-foot, that's a 10-foot ceiling. You got about 7 foot right there. And you go like this, and you're in a big ocean. So when you're standing on your boat and all you see around you is ocean and sky, you're like, oh, there was a little something on the bottom there. I didn't really know what that was. But when you see a 3, 4, 5 foot difference like that, that's nothing in a giant ocean, especially because your surroundings are taking you over. You're like, well, that doesn't mean anything in an ocean like this. But that's a hiding spot for a swordfish. That's 7 foot level right there. There's plenty of room, no different than a snook at a bridge. If I stand here and I'm 6'5", and that's whatever it is, I can tell you that I can hide behind this, and if this was the water all the way to the surface, I can ambush a squid coming across this and wait for him looking up like that. This in 15 or 1,800 feet is what the difference between the guys that are really good at it and catch them all the time and the guys who really don't, and then end up giving up because they didn't like it, the 85%. That's the deal with swordfish. Swordfish is a strange creature. I love wahoo more sometimes, mahis, tunas. I love swordfish too. I'm waiting for my 10th nickel. My goal in life on swordfish is to catch, I've caught 9 over 500. I'd love to catch my 10th, and I'm kind of good. I'm going to let them all go at that point, because I don't want to deal with cleaning them anymore and giving away free fish at the shop. Let's talk about something else other than swordfish. But nighttime, fantastic, man. I love nighttime sword fishing. Give me a question. Yes, sir.
I got a swordfish question.
Yes.
On your squid bait, the strip, how long is it? What size hook do you use? And why do you hook it on the side versus up through like a skip bait?
Right. So what he's talking about, so we're all on the same page here. You're talking about a rigged whole squid, right?
No, I'm talking about
Strip?
the strip, the wing you use.
A wing. Okay, so really stopped using a wing, okay, and went to a squid tentacle. That's the biggest thing now for us. When I got the contact to be able to get a squid tentacle that's about that big. Now, for me, I don't position the hook at the end of the bait. Everything's up in the skirt relatively, right? Pretty close to the top of the bait. And it's a fantastic bait because whether you're fishing in 1 knot of current or 4 knots of current, it's got serious action. It's alive, basically. If I just held it in the current out here in the river and you put it over, it would turn to one side and kind of go like this. It's got a lifelike look, right? So that's number one. Number two with the hook, right? For years, we used to have what was called an aha rig. And it was 2 to 3 hooks. Because we were so bad at hooking fish, we had to have 3 hooks. We had one in the bait, one above it, and one above that. So we even if we wrapped a fish up and caught him at the end and snagged him, that's what the great thing about it is. Today, guys have gotten so good at fishing and hooking swordfish, and that the single hook is from a swordfish bite, and that's another whole thing. A swordfish bite is this on a rod tip. Watch it real quick. See that? That was it. That was the bite. It looks like a grunt just pecked your bait on the reef. That's a swordfish bite. It's not this whole thing. So this for reference, on the other side of the bridge right there is probably 0.3 of a mile. We have a half a mile to a mile of line out. It's passed over there. So when the fish is eating the bait down at Aaron's Pub, and it's reacting to our rod right here, standing on the boat, and we're manipulating a fish from a half a mile away by giving it 50 feet of line and driving the boat a little harder to create a little bit of slack, no different than it is as a blue marlin behind the boat right there, and I take my rod and I go like this and I hold it back, And then when he eats it, I go like this. But if I hold my rod at the fish like that, you'll never hook him. This little bit of drop back, whether it's at 7 feet or 8 feet or 15 to 1,700 feet, is the same thing, right? So back to the squid. Squid tentacle hooked at the top. A swordfish will whack the bait and whack the bait and whack the bait and eventually have enough interest, hopefully, to eat it. That's why the buoy rod, the second rod that's on a buoy on a bobber behind the boat, that has no human interaction with the actual spool in the rod, is more effective than human. Because there's a shock absorber effect. It's not straight drag and you're driving the hook into a fish's face and he swims off. Out there, it's free floating. There's a softness to the bait. You're better off putting 2 buoys out and not fishing a tip than you are fishing a tip. Question. Go ahead.
Talking wahoo. The general consensus is everybody wants to fish for them around the full moon. My question is, do people catch more wahoo around the full moon because more people choose to fish then? Or, can you target them other times? They have to eat, right? For the other 3 weeks of the month.
Fantastic question. Yes, and you're yes and yes. So I have a charter boat that fishes 265 days a year. We wahoo fish every day. Do we fish around the moon? Well, what's interesting in the charter business, this is fantastic. I have a group of guys. They're all over 85. There's 3 of them, all over 85, and they charter the boat the day before the full moon, every single moon. And they catch wahoo. These, certain people are lucky and certain people kind of aren't lucky. Well, these guys are lucky. They always get them, right? So, yes, you catch them around the moon. The full moon is usually not the best by far. 2 days and 1 day before the full moon is the best. Doing 285 days, we do a routine with what we do, unless we're sail fishing or kite fishing or doing that. Generally, in a 6-hour trip, we're spending 2 hours between 180 and 350 at 9 knots planer fishing. And so the moon, you actually said it. Fish are going to eat at some point. No moon, half moon, quarter moon, I don't care about the moon. Now, yes, so that answers the question. The moon doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. But your best bet is the first 2 hours of an outgoing tide, 2 days before the moon, if I gave you the cliff notes. If I said I had to catch a wahoo 2 days before the full, first 2 hours of the outgoing tide, I'm getting tight. That makes sense? Funny, I was talking about the moon this morning. Did we talk about that yet? Moon, 2 moons in May. Did you know May is the only month with 2 moons, full moons? Right? No, it's May. May 1st and May 31st. The first one's called the blue moon. It's a little smaller than every other moon in the year. And the 31st, it's called the strawberry moon. People say, why? Does it look red? No, it doesn't look red. It was the Algonquin Indians, when they did a harvest, it was the full moon at the end of May that was their ripen time to be able to do that. So the strawberry moon and the blue moon this month was the only two in May, but it also coincides with the best meat fishing that we have of the year for us, really. So your best blackfin tunas, your wahoo, your mix of all that, you have more full moons that month. Just throwing that out there, by the way. Another question. Yes, sir.
Prior to April 2010, that was the oil spill, right? We fish out here, bleaching fish. It seemed like to me, and there's a lot of people in the room maybe have all their opinions as well, there was more bait. We'd go out, fish, trolling, we'd catch 8, 10 mahi, some 25, 30 pounders. After that oil spill, it may not have anything to do with it. I don't know whether it's plankton or what, but there's just an absence of bait. And there's an absence of fish.
Till this year. You're right.
I just-
Dead right.
Yeah,
What do you mean till this year?
no.
It's
I mean,
I understand what your question is, but with that comment, till this year.
These last months or so off Fort Pierce, people have been catching mahi every trip.
Right.
It take a year or two to catch a damn mahi ever since that oil spill. They went away. The bait the river is slap full of mullet now. The offshore is full of flying fish from this to big.
Okay.
They're all over.
So it's a
We haven't
sensitive
seen that
subject.
unless you
And if we were going into it, we can go into it because there's a lot to it. And so that's your opinion, right? So an opinion, so everyone's got one. It's like your underwear. We got them on. Most people, other than Ben back there. So everyone's got an opinion about a fishery or an extinction of the swordfish. So as a painter, I paint swordfish bills, right? So I used to sit at things and say, "You're an awful guy, man. Swordfish are almost extinct, but here you are painting sword." Here's what I can tell you based on what I know. Oil spill, can't answer that. I watched the movie The Horizon the other night. Fantastic movie, by the way. But to understand the amount of oil that actually went into the water, does it have an effect? It has to have an effect on something. Now, the cycle of migratory species, mahi-mahi, wahoo, marlin, sailfish, are there shortages of those fish, do you think? You do, right? Until next year when all of a sudden it's really good again. And it's been 6, 7, 8 years since it's been bad. Well, here's the thing. Mahi-mahi, when you say, where do they come from, number one? So is it an oil spill thing or is it all the longliners in South America? Okay, so one's on the top of the surface catching mahi-mahi, the oil's on the bottom of the ocean most of the time after this, right? So when you start looking at all these things, why are things happening the way they are? And I don't have all the answers. All I can tell you is this. A couple of years ago, we had caught all the swordfish. Now we're catching more swordfish than we ever caught, but for a 5-year span, we didn't catch any swordfish. Here's what I would tell you. From the United States line of commercial fishing, you have to understand it's not about what we're catching, because when you say wahoo to me, wahoo didn't come from here. Mahi-mahi, they're not staying here. There's no fence at Key West saying you can't go past this, guys. Because the minute they swim that way, it's over. I was just in Costa Rica. We're cutting out turtles out of longline gear. When you look at some of the stuff now that they're doing to catch fish in other places, they frickin' put it on them. They're catching everything and anything they can. So when you're on the political side, Washington, and you sit on a board of what we've done before with sword fishing as a fisherman, and you're explaining this to people that make laws for our country, they don't fish. They just make laws that they think are kind of cool in this country so they don't get a bunch of grief and they get a paycheck. That's kind of it. But without getting into that, let me put it to you. This will give you a kingfish. A lot of kings out here, right? Is there? How's the kingfish? Does anybody fish for kingfish in here? No one.
Kingfish has been pretty good, yes.
Okay. Okay, so check this out. You're talking about an oil problem. There's a shark problem.
But there's a big shark problem.
Okay, but yeah, and I think the oil problem hopefully has ceased. The shark problem? Think about this for 1 second. Think about the level of this, what I'm getting ready to tell you. Commercial fishing from Jupiter to here. In Jupiter, where people go to catch big kings to make money, let's just say you're talking about 30 commercial vessels and some recreational. For every kingfish you catch, you're killing 3. 2 or 3
Sharks.
per boat. So on a limit or a non-limit, you're catching 50, let's say your limit's 50 fish per boat on a recre. For me to catch 50, I gotta catch 200? Hook 200. You just lost 200 fish for one boat in this area. What happened to the kingfish? It's not an oil problem. We don't have an oil problem. We have a shark problem. Go ahead.
100%. I wasn't blaming it on the oil.
No, I got
don't know
you.
if it had anything to do with it. Timing wise, prior to 2010, I'm gonna call it, because I can't remember exactly. The flying fish, the bait you see offshore was 10 times what it has been after the oil spill. So I don't know whether there's no plankton for the bait to eat. Maybe they don't have anything to eat, so they're not coming, I don't know. But the other day I was out fishing, I saw 4 flying fish.
I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I want to put you on the spot. Ready? How many times did you fish last year?
I don't know, once a week maybe?
Okay, so that's a lot. No, okay, so you're fishing. So think about that for a second. He's making a statement about that. Now in the fishing, you were mahi fishing 50 times.
Well, I mean, I do all
Right.
fishing, but yeah.
Again, here's where I'm going with this. And I'm not, listen, we're using this as an example. Right now, you know how many guys are catching swords? Nobody. You know why? Because it's 15 to 20. And it's going to be that through maybe Monday or Tuesday. But this has been going on for a couple days. So you're talking about in the biggest migration of swordfish here, nobody's fishing. Zero. There's no pressure here. People say, oh my God, you guys are taking all the sword. We don't catch anything. We catch nothing. Bold statement, we catch nothing. You know how many boats there are from here to Key West? You know how many people use them? Nobody. Nobody. I go down my dock. I have never seen the barnacles and the thing. People don't really use their boats. To me, when I think about it, it's like, and I'm not using the oil spill thing, but at the end of the day, for me, and I can't answer the oil spill question. All I know is that for me, it's the shark thing is a sensitive subject because people are not doing anything about it.
Right there with you.
Am I wrong? I mean, you work in a tackle shop, you know.
100% wrong.
It's
I'd have been 150 grand richer if it wasn't for sharks last couple.
Sharks are so bad, yes, sir.
All right, so if we're gonna talk sharks. Somebody had an idea that I really liked last year about having a shark tournament, basically to help eradicate the problem. And I brought it to the board's attention, and the board said, "You've had that idea before, and the problem is you're gonna get all these environmentalists who are gonna come and protest and make us look bad and yada yada yada." But I think everybody in this room can agree that we have a huge problem, and we're not bad people for wanting to solve that problem.
Right.
But I think what it's going to take is somebody who has a national stature to come out and say, somebody like maybe R.J. Boyle. Who wants to
It's definitely
take
not
that
me.
stand.
I can tell you who it is. Who is it? Who's going to solve the problem? It's a question. This is a big room with light. Yes, sir.
Well, is it just a shark problem? My son is a free diver. He gets 100 feet. And he talks about the number of snook he sees down there, the Goliath grouper. Are we over-regulating certain aspects of our predators across the board such that it's a broader problem than just the sharks?
Well, Goliath groupers obviously is a bottom fish, so it doesn't really pertain to
You
pelagians.
guys are but
Right.
I'm just talking about it on the reef.
Well, on the reefs, the sharks will sit under your boat, and whatever you hook, you
Been
get
there.
20 feet from under
It's
the
going
boat.
to be here's, and I've listened to it. I've talked to so many guys about it, and the smartest thing I've heard about it. Right. So I used to fish a tournament that was called the Oak Bluffs Monster Shark Tournament, and I fished with a buddy of mine. The world record in that tournament was 1,221 pound mako at the time, and this was out of Oak Bluffs, right? And when we came in, they used to sample the sharks for science, and then they would go to the food bank. Okay, so over the years, when they stopped guys from keeping the shark fins, you're not allowed to keep the fins. Well, that was it. So people stopped dealing, and they made that ban to stop catching sharks. Obviously, that's the reason we're having this issue, okay? Along with the dive boats and other people and most of America who doesn't fish or get it, or
They're paying to go swimming.
Emeril Lagasse, he can solve our problem. You think I'm kidding? Because if he goes on Good Morning America tomorrow and says, I got this recipe for shark, and you know what? It's the best thing I've ever tried. You guys got to check this shark. All the restaurant, make it that, and you'll solve your shark. That's a true statement. Without that, how are you solving that problem? So the truth is, Emeril Lagasse will solve our problem. So somebody call him, and I think we can solve all this issue. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Full moon, okay? You go out in the morning, trolling for dolphin right after a full moon. Not getting anything. Do you wait for the afternoon bite, or if they're there, they're gonna bite all day? What do you think?
So create the scenario, hypothetical situation. I'm going out today, it's a full moon. I'm looking for mahi. Couple things I'm thinking right off the bat. Yes, mahi, moon's up, they're feeding all night. Probably not a good time to go mahi fishing. What am I doing? Probably catching some stuff off of my dock. Hold on. And putting it in my well. Secondly, as I leave this inlet and I start to run and I see seaweed, not that kind of weed, man. I see seaweed, I'm going over with a sabiki rig or cut bait, and I'm going to catch every dork jack I can about this big. It's a little yellow jack that hangs underneath. I don't care what you do. If you cannot get a bite on a mahi and you throw stuff out of your canal or what's those little jacks, they'll instantly eat what you have. 100%, not even a question. Sir?
Going back to Wahoo, you had mentioned outgoing tide. Where you are, you reach those depths that you want to target within a few miles, right?
Correct.
So up here, you got to go 12, 15, 18 miles to get to those depths.
Right.
If we have an outgoing tide here, the current, as it's being sucked out the inlet, is going to spread over a wider area before it gets to those fish. So I guess what I'm saying is that why our Wahoo fisheries is not as good as yours down there?
We don't think about it enough. So, again, it's going to sound crazy, right? Does tide affect things where I am within a 2-mile span the same as it affects it in a 30-mile span? Yes, 100%. Where is that blend? Because if you're a Wahoo, can you tell the difference between 80 and 86 degrees? You can. One's really hot, one's kind of comfortable, but not that hot. A Wahoo is no different. A Wahoo is no different whether I drew a line in here, and this right here was your outgoing tide line that came out of the back, and it's been raining because it's summer, and all of a sudden, so this tide line, though it's murky and doesn't really show an edge, has a temperature break between that dirty water coming out of this inlet and that Gulf Stream water right there where you are. Being able to fish on that and find it, 100%. So if you're fishing that in that blend area, that's the key. Now for me, if I lived here, right, one of the things I was taught, most of the stuff that I get on boats and see, I've been taught. It wasn't my idea. I didn't come up with this stuff. Most of it I've been taught. But one thing, Art Sapp, some of the guys I fish with, like gangsters when it comes to fishing, I might fish a blend and I might look at Hilton's chart. It shows me this water temperature difference between me and you. Now, when I get out there and I start to troll, and I'm trolling here, I'm in 86, now I'm in 88, and I'm in 86. This transition, most people would go, okay, I need to fish this transition, right? But the truth is, let's just say this water was green and that was blue. Really like identifiable. So you go, well, we got to stay on this edge. The problem is the green water is about this thick, and the blue water goes up underneath it about 100 feet, and the edge is really over here. So all the fish are on the edge over here while you're trolling the edge right there. So smart guys, LNH, Miami guys who fish edges and stuff like that, they'll tell you, if you're ever seeing edge, make sure you go on the dirty water side and make sure you give it at least 200 yards, because all the mahis are in the green water. They're not in the blue water, they're in the green water, because the green water is only that thick. That makes sense? So with a wahoo, same difference. I'm going to troll this, then I'm going to troll this, then I'm going to create a box based on what I'm doing, my day, and work that edge if there's an edge. Before I go, I know there's something. Someone else. Sir.
Okay, I want to talk about a funny fishing pattern that I've noticed. Every time I see the Lisa B putting wahoo on the deck, I'm always at work.
Isn't that great? That's what I was saying. 285 days, right? Enough days off. So the guy.
I do have a question for you though.
Go ahead.
Do you have any thoughts on El Nino, El Nina, and
I
how
was
that
gonna
affects
ask
the
them
fishery?
that.
Here on this side or over there?
I've seen it affect on the Pacific side. Do you think it
So
has-
here's a great story. So the guys in the back that I just fished with in Costa Rica, and it's a friend of mine. I said, I have no interest in catching sailfish in Costa Rica. I don't want it. It's 147 degrees, and I don't want to stand in the cockpit catching sailfish. No interest in that. So do me a favor. I'd rather go deep dropping. I'll catch a rooster fish. Get me anything other than trolling around looking at lures. The problem is it's hard to convince a captain and mate that that's what they do, and so that's what we did. Prior to going, I told him that. The week before, he says, yeah, I kind of talked to it with some captains, John Legrone and some other people down here, and they said the El Nino's got it shut off. It's too hot.